Clackamas County Medical Examiner's Office has confirmed that a body recovered 9 days ago from the Mount Hood National Forest was that of a missing hunter. Devin Doebek had been reported missing by friends at the end of October, leading to a large-scale search and rescue operation near Estacada. After the initial search was called off, family and friends continued to look for him. The body was later found on November 11th at the base of a 400-foot cliff. Doebek's death has been ruled an accident.
On Halloween night in 2025, an experienced hunter entered one of America's most notorious forests. Hours later, he sent a message saying everything was fine. He had successfully killed a massive deer. He was packing up. And he was heading home. But he never made it back. Weeks later, searchers found his body at the bottom of a remote cliff deep inside Oregon's wilderness. Beside him lay the deer he had killed. Both had somehow ended up in the same impossible location. What investigators discovered at the scene raised far more questions than answers. And to this day, nobody can fully explain what happened to Devin Doebek. For generations, stories have circulated throughout the forests of Oregon. Hunters, hikers, and locals have shared accounts of strange encounters hidden among the mountains. Legends speak of enormous creatures moving silently through the trees, creatures that seem to appear and disappear without warning. Most people dismiss these stories as folklore. Yet those who spend enough time in the wilderness often tell a different story. They describe moments when the forest suddenly changes. The birds stop singing. The insects go silent. Even the wind seems to disappear. And in those moments, many claim to feel something watching them from the darkness. Whether those stories are true or not, one thing is certain. Mount Hood National Forest has earned a reputation for swallowing people whole. Over the years, experienced outdoorsmen have disappeared inside its vast wilderness. Some were eventually found. Others were never seen again. Among those names was a man who seemed uniquely qualified to survive anything the forest could throw at him. His name was Devin Doebek. Born in Oregon in 1974, Devin spent much of his life pushing himself far beyond normal limits. Friends described him as disciplined, determined, and exceptionally fit. After graduating from university, he built a reputation as an elite endurance athlete. During his prime years, he competed at a level most people could only dream of reaching. Long-distance races. Extreme endurance competitions. Challenges that demanded both physical strength and mental toughness. He thrived in all of them. But despite his athletic accomplishments, Devin's true passion was the outdoors. The wilderness wasn't unfamiliar territory. It was home. He spent years hunting, exploring remote backcountry trails, and navigating terrain that would intimidate most people. Unlike inexperienced hikers who wander into dangerous areas unprepared, Devin understood the risks of the wild. He respected them. And that makes what happened next even harder to explain. In late October 2025, Devin drove toward Mount Hood National Forest for what should have been a routine hunting trip. Before leaving, he told a friend exactly where he planned to go. He explained his route. He gave a return date. And he promised he would be back by October 31st. Everything about the trip appeared normal. He parked his truck near a trailhead and disappeared into the forest. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Then a message arrived. Devin informed a friend that he had successfully harvested a large buck. It was the kind of update hunters send all the time. The hunt had gone well. Everything was under control. There was no indication that anything was wrong. No signs of panic. No request for help. No hint that within hours, a massive search operation would begin. As daylight faded and night settled over the mountains, Devin failed to return home. Calls went unanswered. Text messages received no response. His phone suddenly went silent. For family and friends, concern quickly turned into fear. Because this wasn't like him. Experienced hunters occasionally run late. But they don't simply vanish. Not without a reason. The following report triggered an urgent search effort that would soon become one of the most puzzling wilderness investigations in recent memory. The moment authorities received the missing persons report, search teams began moving into Mount Hood National Forest. At first, investigators believed they were dealing with a routine rescue operation. An experienced hunter was overdue. Perhaps he had suffered an injury. Perhaps he had become temporarily disoriented. Either way, the assumption was simple. find him quickly, and bring him home. But the forest had other plans. Searchers soon located Devin's pickup truck exactly where it had been left. The vehicle showed no signs of tampering. Nothing appeared stolen. There were no obvious clues suggesting what direction he had traveled after leaving the area. It was as if he had simply stepped into the wilderness and vanished. Because cell service throughout this region is notoriously unreliable, investigators hoped he was stranded somewhere beyond communication range. The following morning, the search expanded dramatically. Helicopters swept over the dense forest canopy. Thermal imaging drones scanned the mountainsides. Specialized search and rescue teams spread across miles of rugged terrain. Tracking dogs were brought in. Volunteers joined the effort. Hour after hour, day after day, teams pushed deeper into the wilderness. Yet Devin remained missing. Then came a strange development. Late one night, searchers reported hearing what sounded like gunshots echoing through the mountains. The sounds appeared distant and irregular. Some wondered whether the shots could have been distress signals. If Devin was still alive, perhaps he was trying to guide rescuers toward his location. But there was a problem. No one could determine exactly where the sounds had originated. By the time teams attempted to move toward the area, the trail had gone cold. The mountains swallowed the noise as quickly as it had appeared. Days continued to pass. The weather deteriorated. Heavy rain complicated aerial searches. Sections of the forest remained littered with fallen timber left behind by previous wildfires, turning the landscape into a maze of obstacles. Progress slowed. Hope began to fade. The only unusual item recovered during those early days was an emergency thermal blanket. Finding it raised immediate questions. Was it connected to Devin? Had he dropped it? Or had it been left there by someone else entirely? No one knew. By November 7th, after thousands of hours of effort and no meaningful breakthroughs, officials made a difficult decision. The official search was suspended. For many families, that announcement marks the end. But Devin's loved ones refused to stop looking. Determined to find answers, they organized private search teams and continued combing through the wilderness themselves. 9 days later, their persistence paid off. Deep within a remote section of forest, searchers made a discovery. What they found would transform a missing person case into a mystery. At the bottom of a steep ravine lay Devin's body. Beside him was the deer he had killed. The scene immediately baffled investigators. Because according to everything known about hunting behavior, Devin should never have been there. To understand why, it's important to look at his final known movements. After successfully harvesting the buck, Devin should have begun moving back toward his truck. That's standard procedure. Field dress the animal. Prepare it for transport. Then head directly toward your vehicle. Instead, evidence suggested something entirely different happened. Rather than moving towards safety, Devin traveled deeper into remote terrain. Away from his truck. Away from the route that would have led him home. And eventually, he somehow ended up near a cliff towering hundreds of feet above the forest floor. The drop was devastating. Equivalent to falling from a multi-story building. Even trained rescue personnel require specialized equipment to safely reach the bottom. Yet somehow both Devin and the deer had ended up there together. Investigators struggled to explain it. His final satellite communication made the mystery even more unsettling. At approximately 7:20 p.m. on October 31st, Devin sent one last message. According to reports, he sounded calm. Everything was going well. He had successfully harvested a large buck. He simply needed more time to pack up and leave. There was no fear in the message. No indication of danger. No suggestion that anything unusual was happening around him. Then silence. Permanent silence. Whatever happened next occurred after that final transmission. Somewhere between that message and the discovery of his body, something changed. Something caused an experienced outdoorsman to abandon logic, move away from safety, and end up at the bottom of one of the most inaccessible locations in the region. And that's where the theories begin. Because once investigators examined the details surrounding Devin's death, the questions became even more disturbing than the discovery itself. The most widely accepted explanation is also the simplest. Some investigators believe Devin encountered a dangerous predator. Mount Hood National Forest is home to black bears and mountain lions, both capable of detecting the scent of a freshly killed animal from considerable distances away. According to this theory, Devin may have been transporting the deer when something began following him through the darkness. Faced with a potential threat, he could have attempted to change course, become disoriented, and eventually fallen from the cliff. At first glance, the theory sounds reasonable. But the deeper you examine it, the more problems appear. For starters, Devin was not an inexperienced hunter. He understood wildlife behavior. If a predator had been targeting the carcass, the logical response would have been to abandon the deer and prioritize survival. Most seasoned hunters would make that decision immediately. Yet somehow both Devin and the deer ended up together at the bottom of the ravine. Then there is the timeline. His final message indicated he was preparing to leave on the evening of October 31st. The reported gunshots were heard much later. That gap creates difficult questions. What exactly happened during those missing hours? Where was Devin? And why was he still moving through the wilderness? When investigators examined the recovery site, additional details complicated matters even further. Reports indicated that Devin suffered severe trauma consistent with a major fall. Multiple fractures and significant injuries were documented. But according to available information, there were no clear signs of a predator attack. No evidence suggesting a mountain lion had dragged him. No injuries that conclusively pointed toward a bear encounter. Even stranger, some of his belongings remained with him. Other items were missing. The pattern didn't fit neatly into any obvious explanation. Authorities eventually ruled out foul play. There was no indication another person had attacked him. His vehicle remained untouched. Nothing suggested robbery or a deliberate crime. Officially, the case would ultimately be classified as an accidental death. Yet for many observers, that conclusion failed to answer the most important question. How did an experienced hunter end up there in the first place? And that uncertainty opened the door to more controversial theories. Among local legends, stories of strange creatures have circulated for generations. Massive figures seen crossing remote ridgelines. Unexplained sounds echoing through the trees. Footprints appearing where none should exist. Most people dismiss such accounts. Others are not so certain. Some theorists speculate that Devin may have encountered something unknown deep within the forest. Not necessarily a creature responsible for his death, but perhaps something that caused him to flee, become disoriented, or make decisions completely out of character. Others point to reports collected over the years from people who claim to have experienced unusual events in the Mount Hood region. Stories of unexplained lights, lost time, sudden blackouts, moments where individuals regained awareness far from where they believed they had been only minutes earlier. Whether those stories represent fact, coincidence, or imagination remains heavily debated. But they continue to fuel speculation surrounding cases like Devin's. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of this mystery is not what investigators found. It's what they never found. A clear explanation. Every theory leaves important questions unanswered. If it was simply an accident, why did Devin travel away from safety? If a predator was involved, where is the evidence? If something else occurred, what was it? The truth remains buried somewhere inside those mountains. And maybe it always will. What makes Devin's story particularly haunting is that he did everything experts recommend. He shared his plans. He told others where he was going. He provided a timeline. He checked in during the trip. He had years of experience. He knew the terrain. If someone with that level of preparation could disappear without explanation, what does that say about the wilderness itself? Perhaps that's why this case continues to fascinate people. Not because of what we know, but because of what we don't. Because somewhere between a successful hunt and a planned trip home, something interrupted the normal course of events. Something happened during those final hours. And whatever it was, Devin never got the chance to explain it. Today, Mount Hood National Forest remains as beautiful as ever. Thousands of visitors walk its trails every year. Most return home with nothing more than memories and photographs. But hidden among those forests are stories that refuse to fade. Stories of people who entered the wilderness expecting an ordinary day and never came back. And maybe that's the most chilling part of all. The forest is still there. The cliffs are still there. The unanswered questions are still there. Waiting. Just as they were on the night Devin Doebek sent his final message into the darkness. A message that suggested everything was fine. When, in reality, something may already have been terribly wrong. And as rescuers entered the forest looking for Devin, they had no idea they were about to uncover a mystery that still remains unsolved.